Hello everyone, I'm back. Today we are going to talk about some Age of Sigmar lore. This won't be a ground-shaking lore segment, however, we will talk about a new, very interesting character, Krethusa the Croneseer. What do you have to know about her? First of all, you can check the picture. She is this mysterious winged elf lady, also known as the Croneseer, but she has many other names. For example, Renegade, Dissident, Prophet, or even the Herald of Morai-Heg. But who is she? Why is she important? And why is she looking so great, model-wise? And one really important thing. Okay, set the jokes aside. Before her swift and unexpected ascendance, she wasn't more than a scorned acolyte, hated by most of her kin because of her obsession with the late goddess, Morai-Heg. For some reason, it wasn't very much welcomed in the Sisterhood of Cain, since they are basically warrior priestesses of another god. So yeah, that was a little bit unwelcomed, like eating Burger King in a McDonald's. But that doesn't really bother Krethusa, because she was always a loner. Many of her sisters noted she was okay at best in fighting, which was really shunned upon in the Sisterhood of Cain. However, that doesn't really help either that her only interests were in books. She spent most of her time in the libraries of Hegnar, seeking and reading between the heavily censored tomes, which wasn't very much liked by her supervisors. Krethusa received many beatings, going against the Cainite dogma. And these beatings doesn't really bother her, because since very young age, when she became an acolyte, she felt an interesting looming dark presence that visited her mostly in her dreams. There was a shadow that reached for her through time and space, and each time when it reached her, she was filled with visions of the past or get glimpses from the future. She felt the horrors and the pains of the past, but also see the opportunities and the dangers of the future, which is an interesting concept in my opinion. Okay, but let's talk about this dark entity. It was the remnant, the shadow, or the presence of Morai-Heg. As far as we can listen to Krethusa's feelings, she felt there was a small fragment, or a little part of the deity, that endured the fate that fell upon her, and chosen Krethusa as her new herald. Okay, quick wiki here. Who is Morai-Heg, or who was? I have goddess. The goddess of crows, the all-seeing one, the crone, the keeper of souls. She had many names, but her domains were mostly fate, war, death. So many happy things. She was one of the three bigger elf goddesses, and probably the oldest one. Usually she was depicted as some dried, withered ancient being, which had many pockets that held the fate of people. Interesting concept. If you are familiar with the Irish lore, she was something like Morrigan there. Okay, let's go back to Krethusa. She followed the visions that were granted her by the late goddess, and as she followed these shadow-wrought visions, she were led to a temple deep within the shadow valleys of Ulgoroth. Inside, she found the circlet of Morai-Heg, a metal circlet, a headdress that you can see on her head. Although this is somewhat of a gruesome piece, because when you put it on, the headdress will gouge out your eyes. This happens with anyone who wears it, or who wore it in the past. So yeah, there was a price for that. When Krethusa found this artifact, the voices told her that she must do this, she must wear this headdress. She will only sacrificing the illusions, the visions of the physical world, but it will open her third eye, and she will truly become the crown goddess's chosen vessel. So after these words, Krethusa planted the circlet upon her head and pushed it on, screaming in agony as the blades and the metal plunged into her eye sockets. But no visions, no insight came to her. The voices in her head has no longer spoken to her. Blinded and broken, hated by her own kin, she could only cling into her belief that one day she will be reunited with the crown goddess. Her fate stayed strong for many years. I'm not sure if it was really fate or rather desperation, clinging only hope that she had. But it stayed strong and got rewarded many years later, when Morai Cain embraced godhood, so in the Broken Realms series, if it rings a bell to you. So when Morati's apotheosis happened, there was a small link between the mortal realms and the belly of Slaanesh. And this is when a few slivers of divinity of Morai-Heg broke free. These meager shards were the souls of once proud elves that were devoured by Slaanesh in the world that was, so the old world. And one such shard went through the mortal realms, across the cosmos, searing to the dark clouds of Ulgu. It went to the dank cell, where our blinded Krethusa laid low. Within seconds of that, Krethusa started to thrashing, screaming in agony and pain. As the shard hit her, there were many screaming, thrashing, breaking noises and things like that. But after that, Krethusa rose up in her ascended form, with the set of dark wings. But more importantly, the visions came back, and they were much sharper and fresher than before. Maybe a little bit overloaded for a time, but after that, when the trauma ceased, Krethusa once more heard the voices of Morai-Heg echoing in her head and in her soul, and this is when she got the title the Croneseer. Ever since that day, Krethusa has served Morai-Heg without a question. She embraced the powers that were given to her, not just the visions, the precognitions, but also the magical powers, the sorcery. She now wields magic as she would have born with it, summoning bolts of pure darkness as the magic of Ulgu, which can take away lives of her foes, but they can also bind the enemies, or these shadows can take away their strength and will to fight. So all in all, very powerful and very useful magic. A flock of carrion birds accompany Krethusa at all the times. These eldritch ravens. At start, they were just feathers on her wings, but when they plugged, they became ravens, and they follow every order from Krethusa. But not just that, she can use their eyes to see the world, to spy on enemies, and to set things into motion. This is the only way then she can see the real world now, which is somewhat of a hindrance, but the price had to be paid. These are great and good powers, but the Croneseer's most vital talent is to see the future. She can see destinies that are fulfilled, or they are yet to be fulfilled. The images of life just float through Krethusa's mind. She can see it all in once, though she is not that efficient, not that great at this as the goddess, so sometimes she is not able to decipher all these visions. She can obtain visions willingly, by burning living sacrifices. Yes, the cuteness is the theme of the Daughters of Cain, I guess. But this is an option. Burn a few to save 1,000. Usually, every burning living offering is okay, but sometimes the deity chooses for her that you have to burn that man if you want to see the future. So not always entirely her decision. By these offerings, Morai-Heg starting to get back her powers. However, she is far less powerful than she was before Slaanesh devoured her. So looks like this prophecy is still in the making. But with the fate of Krethusa, maybe, just maybe, we will see another god, or in this case goddess reborn. And I'm really rooting for her. But for now, that's it about Krethusa and Morai-Heg. Although they are participated and played key roles in the Dawnbringer campaign series, but if you are still reading, I wouldn't want to spoil it. If you are all interested in this kind of videos, just let me know, and I make more, even in the topic of 40k, the old world, Age of Sigmar, or anything Warhammer related. Okay, but that's really it. If you like what I do, please consider liking, subscribing, or both. And if you guys or girls like it, then we can follow through her story, or check on other interesting heroes or villains in the Age of Sigmar setting, because as time passes, I think Age of Sigmar just gets much better, even with the questionable decisions of Games Workshop. That's all for now. See ya!